Ruth, thank you for doing the podcast with me, much as we don't want to do the intros. I can't hesitate to thank you for honoring the invitation. You just told me you actually had, the podcast was controversial, and I want to start by explaining that in how I understand it. So, at the core of things, I believe that ordinary minds, that all of us are just ordinary people, right? Are just ordinary beings. Everything else is a social construct around maybe titles, beliefs. I don't want to say gender though, but that'd be a story for the podcast. But really, so I believe that everyone is just an ordinary being, and with that, everyone's mind is beautiful, and what can come out of it sometimes doesn't get out there, right? Because people are used to maybe you have to have some sort of structure to speak, right? To have conversation. And right now AI is doing almost everything. We spend so much time on our screens. We never get to talk to people. We never get to know what's up with people. So to me it's a power, it's like a superpower. Do you believe in superheroes?
No.
Do you believe life would be safe or better with superheroes?
But if people were just used to, if people do what they're supposed to do, they won't be need for superheroes.
I feel like there will be such a big obsession on who is it. There will be a big inferiority complex amongst other humans. It's one thing they're great. Like you know how pastors say they feel, prophets, and they feel like they're gods on earth. So that's would be dealing with that a lot. But yeah, so back to the whole thing is ordinary beings have beautiful minds, right? And to me, before you're anything else, you're just ordinary. So it's always just beautiful to have a conversation with an ordinary mind, and then we publish it out there, then we leave it for generations to come. So just giving that ordinary being a platform that's going to stay for life and is beautiful to me. It gives me energy. I love it. I love to do it. That's why I have you on the podcast, right? Forget everything else I've heard about you. I have you on the podcast because I'm interested in you as a person. That's, yeah, I'm interested in your mind. And that's what I'm about. But I'll ask you, are you a happy person?
Yes.
How do you define your happiness?
I'm not sad.
How do you distinguish that? How do you define sadness?
If I don't feel bad about like myself. I don't necessarily feel bad. I'm happy.
That's, do you feel like it's a fleeting feeling?
No, actually. But I do feel like some kind of longing, like impending sadness maybe. But I don't feel like it is fleeting. I feel like maybe later I need to be as happy, but right now it's on like a short feeling. It's very
I'm going to let you introduce yourself so that I understand the person you are from your introduction, and I drive the conversation from your introduction. So who are you?
Who am I? That's like my last question.
Yeah, those big conversations, you interact a lot with those questions that are almost
I have to answer that because then I have to figure out what I am.
So does that prove my point right before the podcast where I told you had not yet figured out who you are?
I mean, yeah, but also I'm very young, so.
Yesterday you were against the age thing, but now you seem to like it. Yesterday I get to it.
No, this is real for me.
Everyone gets.
No, I was talking about like people that are around the same age and they're older than I am. I wasn't speaking for the people that are really like.
Do you feel like it matters?
What age?
Yeah.
It does, of course.
Why? It's just a number.
No, it's not.
It is.
That's a very problematic statement.
It's just a number.
No, it's not just a number because it's real, like you develop through the years, like even physically, biologically, so it's not just a number.
So you just get experience. You just keep getting experience with life, but you stay the same person with better experiences. Maybe sad.
You don't stay the same person.
Do you think you are like two existential beings of yourself?
No.
Or more?
No.
Am I?
Do you feel
There
that
is-
way?
About myself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes.
Should probably feel
I see something. You're diagonizing me.
no, I'm not.
That's a bold thing to do. Okay. So, you cannot introduce yourself really to say who you are or what you believe in or what mantra you're in. So I'll help you tell you what I think about you. Right? So I've heard you feminist. So I'd want to understand in what context do you uphold
What do you mean context?
like why are you a feminist?
I'm a woman. That should be enough.
To be a feminist? Because you're a woman, why?
I'm a woman. I live the reality of a woman. I know that I should live better.
What's that reality from your context again? So here's the thing, right? Equality is a myth.
According to who?
According to just life. Everything just dictates
Do you
that
not
equality
think
is a myth.
that there are deliberate systems
No.
to reinforce inequality?
Like which one? I need you to put context to that. I don't want us to be like the white people, right? Where we saying and speaking very good English, but we are not relating that English. Like I want you to being a woman is not solid
You
enough.
say,
Yeah.
or at least you imply that by default, the inequalities are supposed to exist.
Yes.
And I asked you, do you know?
But it shouldn't matter about the inequalities, right? And that's how I feel feminism comes about. They made it seem like there was a
Who are the they?
the system.
The who? Alright, so saying.
Yeah, I want to answer that question by the way. I'm just thinking about it. Who are they in this context? So what I mean by they, I think I used the wrong word. Because again, I don't want to sound pressure on my podcast. YouTube will found about it. So my explanation of they becomes very complicated. But here's a point I'm trying to make, right? If you believe life is fair, then you're not thinking hard enough about life.
Life is not fair.
Then you're not observing your life as you should, right?
Can I counter ask, why isn't life fair?
Why isn't life fair? No. The thing is, it doesn't matter to me that
So
life isn't fair.
when we speak to inequalities, the only reason why inequalities exist, and repeatedly and all the time, there are people working to make sure that
Which way are working?
that they maintain the inequality. It's because there's something to benefit from the inequality. So in the case of the men uphold and they do whatever they can to maintain that inequality because they're beneficiaries of the system.
So I need you to put context to that. Like, how have you experienced that really men uphold this because they're beneficiaries of the system? I feel like you you are sold that, right? Like a marketing campaign in your mind where I don't want to say, well, the people that you think, in this case, I don't want to say, am I just getting lost in this conversation?
Because I keep on counter asking you.
No, that's fine.
Anyway, so for you to ask me that question, if I've personally experienced something.
I want you to put context. So when you say simply that men want to use the system to maybe to live, do you feel like the system is flawed enough for you to exist, to fight it, for the system to be in your benefit, right? Don't you feel like that's a lie you sold by maybe what you consume? That for context, for feminism to exist, it must have some context to it. You must be fighting for maybe some rights, and it must be genuinely something being affected. It shouldn't be that men are the superior being. It shouldn't be a degrading context of you wanting to become the superior being just because you are human, right? So
Who said that?
that was your explanation. What was your explanation?
There's still inequality for women systematically as far as opportunities for things like education, career, a lot of things. So this is not something that is made up.
Where is inequality in education?
Like there's some countries where girls do not get to go to school.
Which countries?
Afghanistan.
Girls don't go to school. Huh?
They don't.
I need to check that. About this, I see this function. But maybe in their context, education is not probably right. So I feel like there was. Yeah, but maybe it's not necessary for the girls in the Middle East to go to school. That they probably have a better way to live their life than going to school. Like maybe I don't know how the Afghans live. So I mean, it's not just random that someone stops and goes to school, right? They're working. Maybe employees. So taking care of the home is just not an easy thing. It's just how we look at it.
And it's still largely unpaid labor. A lot of women. So it's not paid work.
Unpaid families where maybe they're married and they're managing homes. Isn't that?
That's about it in my
No, I don't think that's.
So what do you think happens? Because
So what I'm going to explain is that before you don't have there's a reason as to why in their setting. So let me give you an example. Right? There's need now, but then is it bad? You know that they are really believe and want to take care of all these things. They want to kind of, yes, so but then feminism takes that. Like on this, then they have to work for themselves to feel something things. Like as if when they run homes, they don't have enough power, yet more from our different examples, our moms have so much power at home. They do the same, right? Because they run that home, they're in charge of that. In charge of the home, they make the decisions. No, no, no. They make decisions. They make heavy like for mothers we can do this, right? They decide where children are going to school. Those are really hard policy that matter and something where and mothers have that power to do. So it's not necessarily the mother. Yeah, and this should count, right? Shouldn't it count? That we put context to feminism, where it applies, where we're not just saying random ones like fighting inequality just for the sake of it. We need to define the inequality. Makes actual sense. Right? So a random setting in Afghanistan, we want to take out the fact that maybe things would have been better, maybe another system would have been better, and maybe people are appreciating that from the way they were to the last.
Sorry, sometimes I look at some of these things and I don't know what
That's where you have to come. Make me believe. Make me believe you have to.
So here's the thing. Feminism is not just an acronym that we are able to see. This is not just about we are really victims.
No, this is just a random typical personality. I like to use that as it's not important. But I'm saying, like, this conversation is not going to, like I said, we can even choose information. But then I want you to, for the sake of it, it's not I want to understand how you feel marginalized, right? That's what you understand. You as a woman.
I think that was this before I answer it.
No, it doesn't make it very hard. It makes you need to know.
I don't like to have some of these conversations. Yes. So, I'm just here and someone, that's like the first step, but if you do not feel the question like that, I'm not going to.
How many people, from that context alone, how many people do you feel? So, do you feel like the better thing to do is to be that good about it and be like, no, you are so dumb. Yeah, so you meant
no, that's a different. I meant that at the very least.
okay.
For this conversation to happen,
Does it not happen? Does it should something like tell you?
I'm not financial.
So for the last and that's the thing again, because there's nothing wrong with that, right? What's that? Like, it's fancy for you to throw these words out, right? And then you keep on about them without you being able to context. That's a big context. Inequality, context, being marginalized, context.
So
like, that's the
everyone looks out there, something to
Let me say this. Let me say
have
this.
them already.
Let me say this. I don't think I'm ready enough to be very aware of it, but I choose to be inside because it's important for me to understand the context of your beliefs and feminism. And that's why. So what you're doing, right, is exactly what you feel like you are not putting substance to or context to your argument, but then you feel like there's an argument.
No, because I think you had a conception. You feel like there's something I should be saying, and that's where you're going. No, I'm just saying what I feel like I need to say, but you already think you have an expectation. I mean, an expectation. So you think that this is how it should flow, and that's not going like that.
No. I'm comfortable with this conversation, right? Right. So many people have listened to so many of my podcasts, and there was a time there used to be. No, but it's different context for different people. I've spoken to.
I know, but it makes me feel that kind of attachment. It's now, I mean, that. Feels me like.
But you couldn't introduce yourself. You couldn't introduce what you did. I am not sure you know what you mean. Exactly. Now you're putting that to all the men. Like, really, you are having a conversation with me.
No, listen.
You are just
Because you can't help your manhood. You can't help yourself. You can't help it. It's just there. It's there with you. Like, oh,
no, like that's the thing. In not certain way. There's only one way to find out when you do it. Right? When you put context to it, then I find out.
But you know, with conversations, they people digress. Like, I will start and then one thing with another, and I ended up not starting back. That's why I say, since the introductions are very.
I feel like you're trained to
deflect.
Yes. Like this is work you are doing. It's like talking to a PR guy, right? It's hectic. But then it's enjoyable because then I see it, I can see that you're going to deflect.
No. So that's how we do conversation. That is how, like, it's not scripted. You like digress. You go, you know, one thing leads to another, and then before you know it, it's split into two. You know.
So let me read for you what feminism is defined by on the internet. Right? Maybe we start with I'm just going to randomly type what is feminism.
The radical belief that women are people.
You think it's a lot of people know? Do you think many people know? Do you have brothers? Do you have interaction? Do you have a father? Do you have uncles? So your father is a brother. Don't you feel like there are so many other men like your father? Do you feel like it's a superhero? You know, I asked you why you feel like it's a superhero because I know exactly. So your father is not a superhero. So there are meanings. So do you feel like you don't see him as human? So do you see that becomes real? No, you've interacted with men, so you know you have first-hand experience. Context, like minus the English, right? Minus all this English words. You ask me if I have some research. It's like minus all that you've interacted, right? So the only time I come to you with the fact that gender exists in social change. So you bring her, you don't see as genuine. I mean, men.
They look at them as an extension of themselves. Like, they look at them in a context of wife, daughter, mother.
Thank you, sir.
I don't answer that.
Your argument has like, I have to be informed about.
Because my being a Christian has nothing to do with what you're discussing.
It has.
Because being a Christian does not universally, Christians don't make the rules for everyone else. So I don't know that's relevant to our conversation. That's why I didn't answer it.
You believe so? This is what you believe. So
yes, but
so
for this
give
particular
me
yes.
no. Yeah.
I thought that men in the sense that they are extension, that's why when women now say that, oh, I want to take this like this, come out of the feminist. Because we are being exploited. How do you really want to be a mother? How do you really want to be a wife? Because you do not think you are individuals. And if you don't respect the individuality of a human being, because of something that's not, then you do not think you are human.
Do you think that's something interesting? You see different elements, power, man. Sometimes it's some of the more masculine just feel like so men feel something but then you shadow that whole. What did the number say about this? Yeah. No.
Okay. So what happened is we reached we do not have empathy for women unless we contextualize that. But we need to imagine that, oh, this is imagine if there was someone who was before you can be so
because by virtue of chance that I remember want to first see what their sister means that they feel for their sister. So the idea there is they don't wish anything bad for women, right? then because there's a cause, there's always cause and effect. There's a cause for you to believe that it's a whole manner of thing, right? Because the idea, the belief to believing that feminism is always just like a battle, like it teaches you how to, but it is not, right?
Women have helped to tell the story that divorce, the upper house, the school, the men did not just hold it out.
Don't you feel like that was just really like taxation system? Or extra? You're not going to win, you stop. What is it?
So why do you want to work like that?
Did yeah, but that is what they do. And what happened.
Okay, like things are things of those women and this is things that's how that choice. So if someone is presented with how their life is going to develop, they have no choice in a matter. I need to grow up, I need to get married, and become children, and take care of women, a home. The difference with
So the reason I ask, when you don't understand, the reason I ask about this is to learn to know that way. So I'll tell you guys, look at the system, but I don't anybody knows the system. So maybe that is the same system as that, right? But then it doesn't. Because there's women.
if that is their choice.
So we don't choose our clothes. So sometimes it's not important to have a choice like that, like in settings, in systems that work. That is not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying if I had to choose who my parents were, right, in the ideal setting, in how I feel, I choose the one that's taking me down. Because that is exactly if I had to choose, like if the cards were laid on the table. Yeah, I'm going to relate this.
I'm not going to let you finish because you're making a false equivalence. You're making a false, it's physically and biologically.
I'm saying if there's a system, right? And it's being followed.
You cannot liken something that is possible to a physical choice that a woman can make in her life. You cannot say that because you don't get to choose things like I go back to you. It should. Women choosing to work, don't have to follow the same line. You should just be there by Why is it?
I'm saying,
why is it really wrong?
Yeah. No, it's not very wrong. So I'm saying being benefited. It's like choice. I just want to know. Right? And now I have to go to a job, but still in a normal setting. If me and you get together, just look at this is why I like this. If me and you get together, that's it. What things you do. So I know where I grew up from. Where I grew up from, actually, chores consistent. Right? My dad can cook. Can clean anything. My dad up to today washes his car. Like he irons it. He has a wife from the night. He stays in Tima in the right? So those are like that. but he chooses not to because of how he has been in this space. That is a space that is next to a certain way, and he says, but they coexist with another human being who happens to be my mom, and she likes to take control of her, and they're happy with that, right? So it doesn't benefit my mom in this case to actually do it, because she's doing enough work that she likes to do. Yeah, and that's a working system. And I'm not saying that if she chooses to start with work together, I'm saying that if she chooses to start with work, she will have extra work, right? And what's your obsession with getting paid?
Because financial independence.
No, my mom is not the mercy of my father. It's not at the mercy of my dad.
I'm
right?
just for your mom, but also the reality of what I'm doing outside.
What's the reality? Yeah, give me some context to what you mean.
I knew the problem that I'm try and because I don't have.
I'm listening to you.
No, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
You say that your mother and father have a system that works for them, which makes us that.
Yeah, but this system is picked from the ideal background, right? So my mom doesn't live in your context. So I
What
need
do you mean your mom doesn't live
in your context, in what you want to define as parents. For her, she believes that decisions are to be made regardless, right? Some people going to work is just another decision, and she doesn't have to make that decision to go and work for money. Yes? So if someone else has decided to go work for money, for her, the decision she has made is to stay home and what is wrong with that?
Nothing is wrong with that. The very thing that I told you about if someone who wants to stay at home and
So women have choice.
They
This is
should
what
be
you said.
able to.
Women have choice.
They should be able to. But then they need to be presented, they need to be able to make a choice. That's the right to make that choice on whether they want to stay home or go to work. What you're trying to say is that
I'm saying if there's a working system where we in this conversation we at least can assess the fact that women have choice, right?
Mhm.
But I'm saying
They don't.
sometimes it's that choice, like it's relevant to make that choice to go and work if it's in that context of there is someone already who has made that decision to go and work, right? Then you tie it down to your obsession with financial freedom. But I'm saying you can still get money if you stay at home, right? If it's money, you can still get access to everything. If you say, if my dad can provide everything my mom wants, and the idea is for her to stay at home and grow at home, that should be okay. If she wants to drive a
it works
Lamborghini,
for them. And she has made that conscious choice.
but then
and
feminism
she's not
dictates
forced to.
that she is being suppressed.
No.
That's my argument.
No. No. And I don't know how you misunderstood me for all this time. Where do I start? Susan, how can we start?
Okay. I'm listening. I even close this laptop.
So I think you've not been listening to me the entire time.
I'll listen again.
Because I say if a woman, like your mother, said, your father.
Yeah, please use my context because you have failed to provide context.
No, but here's the thing. I do not need
because
to give you an EG for everything because this is a reality. This is research.
When you don't, you become like a large language model, right? So you go to an LLM, you throw in some words, then it formulates a whole essay about things you want, and that's what you're doing.
So are you saying this is not reality?
I'm not saying that. I want you to point me to the realities. I want to challenge what you think is a wrong reality. Then I give you maybe why that reality exists, right? This informs as to why I needed to know if you're Christian or not, why you believe in God on what?
And I told you that's my being a Christian is irrelevant to this conversation.
Well, it informs...
Christianity doesn't make
because Christianity is like a system, right? It informs how we live.
For who? Who are
system
the we?
follow, like
Christian,
people.
which is a group of people.
Yeah.
It's not a universal lawmaker for everybody else. Because there's a lot of people
so what do you
not subscribe to Christianity.
Then
and I said what I believe in is irrelevant to this conversation.
What informs the decisions you take? Okay, why did you choose to become a feminist? This was like the first question I asked, and maybe now we're in position for you to answer it. You're going to tell me. Let me tell you what you're going to tell me. Should I tell you what you're going to tell me? So that you don't tell me that's good. So you're going to tell me to fight inequality, and I'm going to ask, define inequality.
Oh my, that's why. I already answered this. Oh. And the fact that you don't think that, why don't you think that
it's not convincing enough to me?
I don't have to convince you.
Okay, yeah, no, we're having a conversation. Remember, we're having you, so you have to convince me, right?
No,
between the two of us.
I need to say my piece, but I don't have to convince you.
There's no world where you have conversations with people and you don't convince them of your ideas.
No. This is a thing that I live. So I do not have to convince you that what I live is valid and is real to me.
I'm not saying it's invalid, right? I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. I need to understand why you're doing what you're doing, right? For me to show you that maybe what you are doing.
I gave you an answer. You asked me why did you decide to become a feminist? And I told you I'm a woman.
What do you mean by feminism? How do you define feminism?
I already gave you my favorite definition of that.
Just say it again so it rings a bell.
Feminism is a notion that women are human beings.
So I'm saying there's no one.
Unpack that, and I think we've had this conversation already because that's what led me to you asking me, to you telling me actually that men do not think women are individuals.
And then I asked, do you believe that?
I do.
In what context do you believe that a man would get you interacting with men from right when you're given birth to the ones you've gone to school? In what way have you felt like they don't see you as human? So this is what informs my whole... I just failed to explain that day, but it informs my whole... I don't know how to say this. Because really I don't sound ready. It informs my whole thing of... You're indoctrinated to believe men are bad, even though it shouldn't.
Indoctrinated by who? Women are living with men. Their lived experiences with men are enough.
So women who are living with women currently, right, still have the same issues women living with men have. Right? Oh my God. Don't you watch TV at least? Don't you? If you don't see this, you must watch TV. If you don't see this from school where lesbian couples are fighting, just like heterosexual couples are fighting, then I don't know what you mean by that. Like, to be human cannot be defined by a man.
Who said that?
No one has to say that. Like, I don't. Like, I exist in the same space you do. Right? Mm-hmm. So...
That's why I asked you in the beginning. Do you think that there are no systems that are designed specifically to uphold...
So, and I asked, like, what system? Like, what system? Like, what system? Like, how? Like, give me context of that. Like, how, where is that upheld? Like, how is that, where is that, how are we living with that? So that I can give you a counter to it. I mean,
it's so many.
You're going to bring up the argument of, hey, women were not voting, but right now I can tell you the same argument. Women are given points at HSC that boys don't get. Isn't that inequality?
And why is that?
Exactly.
Why was that done?
Because of some foolish idea someone sold. And I think so, because why should you have more points than me? Yet we are sitting for the same exams in the same school.
That was an incentive. Because
So women deserve incentives.
no, they deserve them
To feel like they're human.
No, they deserve them because there was systems. Again, fewer girls were going to school compared to boys. Why was that done? To raise that number.
So I want to explain to you maybe why that could have been valid. For how it was in that time it was existing, right? It was about responsibility and roles, and majorly that is what life is about. So men had to probably men were the breadwinners. Like, your fight should not be fighting a man because they have existed under a system that once worked or that is working, right? I still think, I don't want to check numbers, but my producer is going to check numbers before they publish, or they don't. So I know for a fact that there's still so many women who rather that system, the patriarchal system where the man is the breadwinner, and they're comfortable with that, right?
Why do you think women want to do that?
No, my argument is not that women. I'm saying it's okay, it is working, it's helping them raise their family.
Answer there. Why do you think some women prefer to have children?
Yeah, no, working is
Why not take that same in your workplace?
You work for an NGO,
No.
but in case you know, right? I feel like now.
You said you produce exponential panels when you're going action.
Yes.
Women earn less than men in the same position.
So that's a very good argument to have with like a CEO, right? Yeah?
The CEO.
It shouldn't just be get the same money. It shouldn't just be that.
No, and I'll be telling you, CEOs, they don't fall out of a coconut. They exist within the context of.
Yeah, but they're also informed by enough data to know how they become equality, right? So I was watching Rocco Siffredi's thing on Netflix. It's a monster. Even in a porn, right? The man still has to perform. Like, the guy paying looks at the performance and how it's measured. Like, there's actually, like, there's reason for the guy to get more money than the chick in what they're doing. Because maybe what they're doing.
You're conflicting issues. When I say that women are not getting paid enough in the same position, so in a movie, there's a bigger star, right? Whether they are female or male, depending on how big their success, people are more. I'm talking about people in similar positions like me and you are both in country in the same thing, maybe don't work the same position in the company. And more, but if you look at it, there's no other metric that is apart from the fact that you are a man. And this is factual, and this is happening, and then you are very unlucky.
So, me, I like to go back to the context. In the places I've worked, right? I have had you do me yet I do
Do you have the same position like when you were hired, are you both in the same level?
It's very helpful. So the element is that they have
if they're
some
still in two positions in the company, there's the same someone is being hired. So that's what I'm telling you. And I appreciate that wherever you work, you know how to do it.
This takes us back to the argument that I am unfairness of the world, right? It's wrong for you to think that there's always going to be fair. Like those are incidents where you cannot get it. Because I can raise the same argument and I'll have examples to and will be now is that you know what? Here, actually, you know what? Okay, I'll ask you. Why are men doing the hardest things? Why are men doing the actual hard process? Because they are doing that. You believe that. You believe that we have there's a difference between in their existential needs. Exactly. Exactly. Don't you think those women are still those folks who are maybe physically say they are also like they still don't you argument can be beaten and down and talking. Because you already have
No, some of them are very. I love some girls when I was like, nice cool, some really
now that you read
it becomes so hard to have
yeah, but that's a very normal conversation. I feel like that's an important. Treat this podcast that way, right? Treat it too. Treat it in a way that and it's 6 guys is going to be management, right? And they want to take your side. Yes, they want to change.
we should change it. More targeted. Like we're going around.
We're going to be young about
The option to stay at home. For instance, as a woman, I'd like to stay home when I have babies because it's key for their appropriate growth and thriving.
Yeah.
Yes? And the way I am engineered, as Hilda,
Yes.
I can only speak for myself,
Yes.
but as Hilda, for me, that already just picks that up. Before I had my son, I was full-on career woman. I was really clear about how I had seen myself with red UN number plates, yeah, working out in Turkana, in some cold hard
Truly,
days.
CEO,
But
what?
the minute I held that baby in my arms,
You started to think.
all that changed because my priority became the well-being and survival of this child.
Yes, but you had choice, right?
I am so grateful I had choice.
Now.
Do you know I am so privileged?
Yeah.
So privileged, and I've never taken that for granted because it's a choice that was really looked down upon. Literally, I think by everyone but me. Because of the level of my education, I was told you're educated, there's a scarcity for your profession in the country. How are you staying home with your child? Literally, we educated you so that that's not the default anymore. But for me, having practiced in healthcare, and I saw the gaps that come up for children and how it affects them when they actually don't have a caregiver who's focused on their well-being. And when it came to my time, I was like, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of push to the father of my child to be able to stay home. Because I was like, how am I going to work with other people's children, showing them how to eat when there's failure to thrive, what to do, and my child was starting to have the same. Doesn't it make more sense to be home during the most key years, so the first 3 years of a baby's life? Then after that, transition back to the workforce. And I am grateful I had the choice to do that, but there were consequences. There were consequences to pay.
What I pick out from what you're saying is, I think it is, how do they say it? You said it right, privilege. That's what very many people do not have. Even me, my wife, even my mother, even my sister, their option would have been, and very many of the ladies, their option is, I would rather stay home. But okay, when we get back to the context of, I don't know if you can spell out that, your mother staying home, and because I want to bring it back.
I was calling it system in this conversation.
System.
Like, yeah, I was just calling it a system. Like, if I was saying, right? First of all, my issues with that choice, right? I am saying that it is. I don't want to say that it is irrelevant, but if they have tested and if there's evidence enough that you like to stay home because it helps to nurture the home, bring up the children, that's a good thing to do, right? And then they apply that same thing with everyone else, like the Christians do with the Bible. They believe, you know what? If you follow these rules, and if this is working, there is some sense of law and order, right? So it's just not about to choose. You don't really choose to be Christian, right? But I'm Christian, even if.
But you can choose. You see, Mark.
That's but you're already brought up with Christian values. You're already brought up by Christian values. Yes, to choose then becomes meaningless.
Okay, let me
to choose becomes meaningless. To say that you choose not to.
Let me give
I don't even think I believe
you
in
an
God,
alternative
really, but
in
I
the
know I'm
wording
Christian.
he's using. Let's in place of Christianity, let's use societal norms. Because the societal norms cut beyond religion, beyond ethnicity. So, let me use the Vikings as an example. They lived in very, very harsh times. So for them, both men and women had leadership roles.
Yeah.
You brought up your girls to be tough, to be able to fight. Because men die, you'll all be left alone. So you have to
you really
take
the
care
girls
of
have
things.
to thank
you have to be hard. So, but still, when a woman was with child, because of the extra responsibility she was taking up, she took a step back from the protector role. And it's about the work we all need to do in a society to keep the society whole.
Yes.
And the reality is that back then, when it wasn't about currency, when we're clear about the value we are all bringing in.
The point I failed to make.
Yes.
I wanted to go back in time where it shouldn't be about currency, and her main objection there is the money, right? It always has to come back to, you know what?
Before you get to the money, there's that thing of choice that you're speaking of, that the choice is relevant in this one,
Yes.
in this idea. I think it is not irrelevant. Even you as a man at a certain point, you make a choice. You get what I'm saying? Every mother, and I will tell you this, if you take out of 10, 8 of them would say, you know what, if I had the choice to stay home and raise my little one, I will do that. They will do that.
Yes.
So,
You know this? No, but we have no camera. It's okay. It's okay.
it has, yeah, I'm not going to put it.
No free advertising.
No free advertising.
So, at the end of the day, I know, right?
It's water. But usually I remove that as well.
So, when you think about it, the women, and I didn't want us to lose the point that we were talking about earlier. Remember what you're talking about, the context of, your feminism, how you are, brought up, what you are doing or what you believe in. It is not that, if I'm to go back to that point, I don't think it's that men or people are threatened by feminism. We're looking at it at the context.
So, but her point was that women...
Why would you want to upset a system that's favoring you and working for you? That's the problem you're having with feminism.
No,
I need
it is
to
not.
explain that it is favoring
not
and working for me, and that has been the biggest hurdle with this podcast.
I love feminism. When I get to stay home, have my bills paid, live in a neighborhood I like, that's working. That's positive feminism.
And you see,
and it happens
it
under
works for her.
Positive masculinism.
So why don't you also make it work for yourself? But who says that feminism has to oppress one side?
Feminism is not here to oppress.
No. That's what you say. You're having one side. One foot here.
You're misunderstanding.
No, I'm not misunderstanding. You're saying,
So,
why would I want to accept a system that works for me?
Here's how you look at what is feminism fighting a patriarchal system, right? According to feminism, who does the patriarchal system favor? Men. No?
Yeah.
So feminism is trying to get rid of that system, and everyone can just exist without anyone being inferior or superior to the other.
But that's not possible. I'll just say it to you now.
Why not?
It's not possible.
Why isn't it possible?
It's because that is how it is. You see, like how she has been talking about that from back in the day, and earlier we're having a conversation about context, where you come from in the society that we are in. You have been raised one way, you're probably going to raise your children. And by the way, the way you raise your children, even if some of us decide or think that how we're raised has no bearing on how we raise our children, somehow it does.
Of course, it does.
Exactly. So I gave you an example of that family where they told the boy, is a school-going child, that no, a boy, okay, at the university, not like child, but yes, you don't have to prepare food for yourself, or you don't have to go to the kitchen and do ABCD or stuff like that. That is how the person was brought up, and he's a guy. Then you have someone who is brought up in a house, and they are female, and they are being told that as a how do they call it? As a lady, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, and this is how you do what you treat a husband. This is how you should move around in society, and things like that. For me, I don't think that, and she brought it up right, because the issue we're speaking about is from where were you brought up, from which angle do you look at it, and it's really important. It is not that we don't want to upset a system that favors us. I am all for me, I have no problem. If you're a lady and you're there and you're telling me that you can climb the ladder and I shouldn't disturb you because of the idea of independence, you do. What does that have to do with anything? Why did you put the camera in my face? You can't.
So I think
so
I think
being, and that is where for me I normally find the challenge, where you say that
here's what I want to say.
The idea is to elevate everyone to be on the same one.
Here's what I want to say. Societal norms, like you're calling them, they're not empty. They don't exist without consequence. They feed into the political decisions that then affect the whole. Do you understand? So for you to reduce it to just a personal thing, yes, it is personal for someone to prefer to stay home, or to prefer to have their wife for this and this reason. It's personal. But it feeds into a larger society, and because we exist in communities, it affects how we
everyone should
organize.
Be free to live and make their own choice. If you feel someone's choice, hold on. If you feel that someone's choice as a new mother or as a mother to stay home, and their bills being paid for, live in the neighborhood that they like, drive a nice cool car, is affecting your drive of feminism, then we have lost the point.
No, by virtue of fact that we exist in communities, it means we have to be comfortable with losing the right to choose all the time, because it's about the community. It cannot be about an individual want, and that was my whole point. That you see, if the kind of setting where a mother who is staying at home and the father goes and fetches school fees is working, right? And it can be implemented elsewhere, and it is working. It is not that the next mother who chooses to follow that system did not have a right to choose, but really it's in a community setting that now that whole community believes that this is the right way to, this is the way to live. It doesn't have to be wrong or right, but now that is the way to live.
You guys are just being idealistic. That's how the society is.
Just a moment. I think what Ruth would also like for us to talk about, and this is where we get trapped in terms of talking about feminism. It's about losing your voice. If as a woman you choose to stay home with the children, or rather you're home with the children, therefore you don't have a voice in other matters affecting the home. And I think that's the bigger concern that affects women. It's in terms of, when I choose this, I get this negative aspect where I lose my voice. So it's really important to acknowledge that aspect and not ignore it, because we've been talking about the ideal, woman staying home, she's supported, once she's the children are older, they can go to school, then she can transition back into earning.
You can just get a job again.
Yes, so the issue is,
I also feel gender pay gap is a myth, and it is.
I love how you're just going down that. But for me, it's.
So this is why I say that conversation is a conversation to have with CEOs who are informed by data as to why they're giving women.
That's why I made the point and told you these social nuances you want to ignore as personal beliefs. They feed into what the collective thinks. And why people think that women should be paid a certain way. It's because it's in their psyche, because you live it.
I forget a certain CEO, but he was very, very clear on that. He was like, you know what? Because of these exact reasons, so of course he gave reasons of time off work. As a woman, you don't want to be oblivious to the fact that your mood is probably going to change on things, right? And data has picked this up. And data has picked
I was about to support the pay gap with data.
And that has,
what happens is,
and that has picked that up, that maybe there is a mood change when a woman CEO is
just relax. So pay gap. What happens is, you and I join the workforce. Say we are 24. At age 26, I take time off for maternity leave. All right?
Yeah.
That's 3 months out.
Remember, I don't take paternity leave, right?
Yeah,
or I take
or 2
a
weeks.
lesser time, yeah.
Yes.
Why
And then
should I take
on
a
top
lesser
of
time?
that, my attention is diverted by the extra responsibilities of child rearing. All right? So I will not be as hassled.
That's on a normal
We're just talking about
we're
normal.
Not talking about baby blues.
No. We're just talking about regular life. Then in 2 years, I take time off again to have another baby. Then the norm that happens is that I won't attend the networking events that happen in the evening because I'm going home.
Okay.
All right. So what happens in an organizational setup? There's you who's been really, or you never miss a social event. You don't call in, oh, my child is sick, oh, I have an emergency.
Yeah.
And even if you also have been adding to your family, it's your spouse who takes on the extra duties of child rearing. So, and that's the reality.
Your wife.
So yes, and you will keep progressing faster than I will. But it's a reality. It's not a bad thing. It's just real. As an employer, I will value the person
I like how you
who is
that. Yeah.
able to
But
give
that's
me
how
more.
it is. I don't think she needed to explain it that way. That's I have
Because
myself.
that's
What you're missing is then what was the point of you coming into this type of setting, right?
But they were born into it, they went to school, they have to...
I mean, that's the whole point. And this previous system was exactly a solution to that. That look, right? We know you are going to have mood swings. We know you're going to have these challenges. We know you're going to do this. So, avoid all this stuff.
Let me just...
Right? It was a savior for the woman. Like, avoid all this stuff.
No, let me tell you why my father educated me. And let me give you his context.
Yeah.
So, his mother was widowed at a young age. Fine, all the 6 of them had been born. He was just going to Form 1. That's in my country, high school. And his dad died, and then his mother was left with 6 children to raise and pay fees for. And he saw her struggle. He saw her make choices to educate his sons. Because culturally, when the girls reach a certain age, they get circumcised, they're eligible for marriage. And for him, he was like, I don't want this for my daughters. I want more. I was educated to have options. Not that in the negative perception of feminism, that so that I can do without a man. No, it was so that I have options. Because
but why should that be a good thing for you to do without a man?
Listen, men die in the context of my grandmother. He wanted me as his daughter. Should my husband die or for some reason things don't work out, give me options not to have to stay in an abusive relationship. That's why. And he leveled this with me. He's like, this is why I'm educating you to have options. And I am so grateful that I have them. And it's not every woman who has them. Not every woman went to a school where she has a career that she can just drop off the scene for 3 years and I'm back.
So.
Yeah. So it's I am reaping the fruits of positive masculinity because I have a father who invested in my education, and I can afford to be a happy feminist. So I am an outlier, but there's the reality of taking away a woman's voice just because she's at home with children. And I think that's one of the main disservices we have done, not only to our mothers and it also goes on to their children, because these children learn this. And unless they choose to change the tide as they're adults, you'll find, that's why you find out that men who are abusive both verbally and physically raise boys who end up to be the same. Then we end up perpetuating negative masculinity. And in this case, we might have a girl who's so scared by her father's behavior towards her mother that she says, I will never listen to a man. I will not be submissive to a man because of her scars. Because of that, then we go now to the side of negative femininity. And what is this doing to our society?
Sure. Now I want to explore that. Did you believe in negative femininity?
I just want to put this down.
Yeah.
I don't think there's such a thing as negative femininity.
But it is there. Like,
I just put that down. For me.
There is the idea where you feel like you are not, men don't treat you as human. Which I really, really don't believe exists. And also, right?
You're
my
taking
point,
me out of context, by the way.
You can record yourself.
I said that men do not think women are individuals, and that kind of makes them look at them as subhuman, as extensions of themselves, because they do not respect their individuality. That's why there's the way I understand the phenomenon you're trying to say, negative femininity, is when you bundle up women that do not want to follow that traditional kind of thing, because you don't believe in their individuality. You do not respect that some people do not want to follow that path. They want to be alone. They're not, do you understand? They don't go that path.
I understand that. Now, at the off chance that all men are killed and women are coexisting in the same setting, like you have to get together and maybe raise families, you'd have the same exact challenges as they are happening in heterosexual relationships. Exactly. there would still be violence. It would be people will get emotional.
No.
So instead of having a counter battle of fighting,
right?
There is.
I like it, and she will laugh like that.
There is, because there's been evidence of it being harmful. I've not seen. People keep on saying the only problem you have with these women is because they're not kind of subscribing to how you think they should. It's not physically harmful to anyone, but negative masculinity is hurting people. It's turning into violence. They are real victims of that.
Just like negative femininity, right? Teaching young boys to hate men, young children to hate men.
Okay, when they hate them, are there women? Do you know that there's a femicide problem? But I've not seen women kill men just for,
Allow me to answer.
And that's the thing.
Yeah. Please, yes.
No, Ruth. Let me
Let me finish, then you answer. You people keep on saying women hate men, but that hate that you're talking about, the hate that you're talking about, does not result into men losing their lives over that. But when men hate women, they are victims. There's data for men. Isn't there a femicide data? You had this last year in Kenya.
Am I allowed to now speak?
No.
Ruth, are you ready? May I?
No. And
let me let you finish.
You were saying that
Yes.
I am not getting passionate and loud. It's because I really like to keep my conversations like that. But there's some things where I feel like I need to put my foot down on this, and that's one of them. The negative femininity thing that you're making up is not a real problem.
But you cannot.
But negative masculinity is a nightmare. People are losing lives. The numbers are there. It's very real. Women are suffering at the hands of men physically, like they are violent towards them. There's a problem. Men, on the other hand,
Cannot suffer.
they can suffer at the hands of women in a domestic setting, for example. There are women that are violent. But here's the thing. There is no.
Let us give Ruth audience. She's finally burning
No,
out.
because you want me to be incensed though, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Take it home.
So,
Do you agree that the things that are perpetrated by I think it's called toxic masculinity, it results into real numbers, because, and this is, I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier, these social conditioning things, they don't exist in a vacuum. They affect people. When people reinforce, for example, on social media, people when you like to reinforce gender roles, they are victims for that. I've seen data of so many women that are killed over food, things like that. And what happens is when
killed over food.
like I've come back and you didn't cook food, I'm gonna beat you to death.
Allow me,
and
Ruth,
this is why it's dangerous to feed gender roles like that.
Okay, wait. So, thank you, Ruth. You have just given very good examples of negative masculinity, which are actually illegal. Yeah?
True.
Murder is illegal. It's not a respecter of gender. Yeah? Whether you kill as a woman or as a man, it's illegal. And it's very unfortunate that women are being killed by their intimate partners. Very unfortunate. In my country, we've actually had high-profile cases where women have killed men, have killed their intimate partners.
If you refuse,
So, no, I'm not refusing. Please, as in this, the two examples are negative examples of, or rather negative attributes of either being masculine or feminine. Yeah? Murder is wrong, whether it's instigated by a man or a woman. Yeah? And yes, we do need to do more for women. In my country, which is Kenya, we have had for about 20 years amazing programs on empowerment of the girl child that have actually now brought a gap for boys, which is something separate, which is totally separate. But yes, the issue,
That's also one thing we have to
what I call negative femininity is that having a place where we've reached that and we're saying men are bad. Men are not
And
bad.
there you go.
As a blanket, no. We have bad people. And they can either be female or male.
No, okay.
So I need us to be very
I want you
clear
to
about
pause
that
right
and not
there
choose
because
blankets.
I'm going to forget. That's why
Yes.
I want to address it
Okay.
like, right now. Repeat your previous statement. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
That we have.
That man, they're just bad.
We have bad people.
No.
They can be-
There's something that you said like before I interrupted you.
So
actually.
murder.
No.
Femininity, something about okay, why you're
Yeah, you're gathering your thoughts.
This is what I think. From the onset, I feel like you're just biased about the whole thing. And you have
Let me just put this out there. The way that feminism is set up as an idea and as a movement is that there's an oppressor and there's someone that's oppressed.
but that's why do you look at it that way?
Let me finish.
When we talked about the idea of having options, then you wanted to rubbish that as well.
What did I rubbish?
The options that we're talking about here.
No, I just said people should be able to choose, and it's what I was telling him from the onset, no?
Okay.
So, what was I saying? I was saying that feminism as a movement and as an idea is because
There's an
women
oppressor.
feel like they're oppressed by the oppressor who is the man. So, in which other situation,
He's so loaded.
let me finish. In what other situation is there an expectation for an oppressed person to negotiate with the oppressor?
Then
No.
that's when you come out to be violent. That's when you come out to.
Oh wait, let me borrow. Your last podcast. What's the book you were reviewing about the oppressor and the oppressed? Yes. So it follows the same because it's unfortunate that it seems that
Let me
the
finish.
oppressed doesn't know how to stop being an oppressor.
An oppressor has
Because
no
now-
incentive to stop oppressing you unless you're the one fighting to take to like
And that is where, for me, I had the challenge with her submission from the beginning. She says, "Why do we want to have a situation where we are stopping something that is favoring us as men?" So for her, she's saying the man is the oppressor. There's nothing that.
Let me just share something. Yes, the world, as long as
feminism goes,
Ruth.
we have on one side
no,
men, we have on the other side
Ruth.
women feel like
So do you believe men
oppressed.
can be feminists?
They can be allies.
They can be allies. Now, that means not all men are the oppressor, like you call them.
Granted.
So now, this is whiplash, Ruth. You're causing severe whiplash.
No. This is now English. This is now grammar.
No, but I've got
No,
you there.
listen. No, listen.
Pastor Lyle, you entered.
You guys are very combative.
No, well, how have I been combative in whatever I said?
No, it's like, I got you. No, listen. Men, by their existence in this system, they are unwilling perpetuators, some of them.
Okay, let me give an example. So in societies where the reality is as long as we choose the reproductive path. No, just listen. As long as we choose the reproductive path as women, once we choose to have babies, we lose our advantage.
And I don't know why we
So
are reducing
we-
the conversation so that it should be wider.
No, let me
No,
start
but
with
you see,
like
even
in,
those parts build
in
into
the
the
developed
bigger thing.
countries like South Korea, they're done. Women are just like, this is not working
Because
for
they
us.
realize it's not rewarding.
Yes, so they've stopped having children. Imagine, That's how deep they had said, by the way, this is not working for me, so I won't have children. And it shows the need for us as society to create a more balanced setting. Because if it means for me as a woman to follow my urge to procreate, I am giving up all my future comforts and security, then I will retaliate and I will use my uterus as the West has done. But what does that mean for society? So we need a society that is kind, that accepts that as a woman, when I am home bearing children, I am contributing. And once
Contributing to what?
Sorry? To society. And
Like my
once,
contribution is not any less than someone who's working.
yes, and the challenge is that we have
Okay.
reduced contribution to financial, and that's where
Yes.
and we said that
yes.
if
It is
we
not making
if
your
we
point.
don't
No, yes, but it really is where I had a problem with that.
that's because unfortunately when we reduce my contribution to society to be financial, and we say, hey, oh, you don't have a voice if you're not bringing money, we create a situation where we jeopardize future societies. We knowingly, because if it reaches a point where I'm like, hey, me to have babies means you're taking away my voice, my right to stand up and speak.
I
Then
don't feel like your voice goes away though.
I saw.
I feel that like you gain more power, right?
in a society that values my role as a mother and a homemaker.
And that is the ideal society feminism is fighting.
That does what?
That values her role as a mother and a homemaker.
You see, that whole thing that you have talked about in South Korea, first of all, they're creating their own problems now, because later on they're the ones going to have a deficit in their population. But that's a conversation for another day. Now, when we get back to the idea of feminism and contribution and how people view it and how it should be perceived, and probably what was the, how do they call it, the underlying motive, I don't believe it had a lot to do with the oppression. Okay, yes, the oppression was there. It was even as, like you say, as the woman or as a woman, I need to contribute something. But the contribution that you speak of, that it does not necessarily have to be financial, is you're speaking it today and now. But most people, when you ask them, their contribution will be tagged to what? To finances.
Yeah.
To work. How many lady CEOs are there? How many cabinet ministers, female cabinet ministers are there?
That's what we have reduced as the valuable contribution.
Exactly. So that is where we get the radicals. That's where we get the negative, femininity that you're talking about. Because the comprehension of the idea.
Go back to what's negative femininity.
Yeah. Yes. So the conversation now has been reduced to the lightest of. The contribution is financial.
That's a politics issue more than it's a feminist issue.
No, it's the same thing.
Politicians,
It's the same thing because we're adhering to very many national and international standards.
Feminism in
we
its
have
actual sense is
SDGs, we
politics.
have the national
Politics
development
against survival.
documents that say that we need to earmark certain government positions for the women,
And
the
that is not
disabled,
wrong.
the youth, and the person with disabilities and all that stuff. And because first of all, we realized what the problem was, which you talk about the oppressed and the oppressed. So, let me put it this way: we
Do you
discovered
feel
that
men
there
have
was
oppressed
an
you?
imbalance or an unfair distribution of, let me say, resources or wealth or roles of contribution and things like that. So, to curb that, then there was deliberate efforts. Those that happen in Uganda, those that happen in Kenya, to make sure that they propel and do what? And, put the girl child forward. And then, all that stuff boils down to the idea, one of which is the contribution, the other is the, how do they call it, the contribution, and the other is the ability to be able to have options, even for the what? Even for the women. Now, when you go to individual cases, I will not say there are no guys who are abusing their masculinity, men out there. They are there, and those are the ones we should single-handedly get, and we tell them this is a human being, and they are entitled to whatever it is that you're entitled to. Let us take it from there, and then we address that at that point. But to say, to reduce the whole thing to the oppressor, I don't know, can the woman, I don't know, men are killing women and what, which I'm not dismissing. Yes, but also
humans
women
kill humans.
Yes, but also women are doing the same.
Are there instances where gender norms have fed into femicide?
Yes.
They are there. We cannot deny that.
So why
but
do you
cannot
deny?
Say it's one way. Is what we are trying to tell you. Like the way society is.
In a world where you've killed all the men.
Stop those crazy hypotheticals.
But
because
imagine that world where there are no men.
I can't imagine it, because why should we imagine when we are living here right now? There's both men and women
who
and
live with women, right? Same-sex relationships still have the same issues as heterosexual relationships, right? Partners kill each other. So the issue is
That's
not
what we see on TV, not in Uganda.
No. Not just TV. Even in Uganda, I have seen gay couples fight at bars, and it's bad. Like I've seen.
But that closing is not allowed in this country.
It is.
How?
Well, it is there. That's the reality of the thing.
It being there does not mean it's allowed.
So the issue then goes to the problem. Like what? We are not addressing the real
I need
issues.
to
We're
be
in a
here.
fight.
It's crazy what's happening here. No, but it's crazy. The ideas here. Apparently, there's something called negative femininity.
Where does negative femininity stem from?
It's like the female version of toxic masculinity.
Women don't have the power.
Yeah.
Because they actually negative forces.
There's no impact.
He has just declared you a victim. Trevor has just declared you a victim of your world.
It's a reality.
He said you have no power as a woman. Did you hear? He said he has no power. You have no power as a woman. Oh, absolutely.
No.
I am a very powerful woman. Let me speak for myself.
As an individual.
Yeah?
As the world works.
But powerful is what? Is it still
There's
like
bottom power, there's money power. There's so many forms of power available to women.
Let me elaborate. The status quo as it's
You cannot elaborate from outside. Yeah. You cannot elaborate from outside. Yes.
Another day, Mike. So guys, if you look at the status quo of things at scale, countries, continents, and economic systems, women stand at a disadvantage. And the women who appear to rise up in these systems to get power,
They don't have enough power to influence the system.
The women. So what happens is the few people who sort of like are in the status quo and say, hey guys, here is the illusion of inclusion and power. But if you look, has anything shifted in ways that genuinely benefit women? Even in terms of policy in this very country. People say, oh man, the first DPP is a woman. The speaker is a woman.
That was Hanito's argument.
But the thing is,
They don't come to the
but
same
the thing is,
conclusion.
what I understand with patriarchy is that even women can participate in it.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, I'm not saying too long on this. So the thing to sort of like understand is when you say negative femininity, it's being perceived from a place
It's
of
a lie.
patriarchy.
It's not real.
The ways in which women inconvenience people in patriarchy are not negative per se. Patriarchy is already a fucked up system.
There are no victims.
So before you even get to negative, who is saying it? And from what point are you saying it from? And even that's,
Because women are saying this on Twitter.
and also
therefore,
toxic masculinity is real because it's rooted in an actually demonstrable environment of toxicity, even for men themselves.
That's what she was saying.
So the binary of saying, we can't put in a binary of
they're saying they're reducing it to it being a people problem.
But let me finish this. Guys, give me a chance. Let me finish this. Guys, let me
It's okay, let him talk, then I'll go next.
let me finish, guys.
No, it's okay, let him
Before-
talk.
Let's have the context of the conversation and what has led to
Just
it.
don't like that. It will pick what of it. Yeah.
So the conversation we were having is that these people, not these people, they're saying, their argument is they've acknowledged that there's a problem. Men are killing women because of certain, they're just killing them. It's just like normal murder case. They're denying how...
It's femicide.
Yeah, they're denying that patriarchal way of thinking feeds into this.
That's what I want to respond and
They're
say.
denying its role.
We are being
give me a chance.
misquoted.
I'm saying.
We are being misquoted.
I'm saying, wait. Give me a chance. Let me finish what I'm saying. Then you can respond to it. Because I think it's important. I want us, to, as we discuss negative femininity, toxic masculinity duo, not to look at them as opposite sides of the same coin. Because toxic masculinity is real and demonstrable, and even hurts men themselves. But even if women weren't present in this equation, we could still discuss toxic masculinity, right?
Yeah.
Like the failure to express emotion adequately, the aloofness that comes with images of being a man. Like these affect men even in the absence of women, right? So if you're going to talk about negative femininity, personally, I don't believe it's a thing, because the point...
But you're not a woman.
Exactly.
So how can you talk about us?
Wait, let me respond. I'm not a woman, but I'm a man in the patriarchy, and I've studied it. And I can tell you, I can demonstrate how toxic masculinity is built up. And I've told you, even if you look at only men, you'll still be discussing it. But it's negative femininity thing, especially coming from a man, I pose the same question to you. You might feel like you're inconvenienced by how these women are acting, but it's only a production of your position and your immersion in patriarchal society.
One, we are beings. We can either be good or bad. And we can either be feminine or masculine.
I mean,
Yes.
it's binaries.
Yes.
It's not that simple.
Yes. So that's what here we have been discussing.
But the thing is,
okay?
that binaries is too stilted.
Because they are both.
I want to talk about how she addressed that femicide.
No, I'm not repeating anything. So
He said he wants to respond to this.
he can't respond to something we've already spoken. What I'd like to share is context, part of what he said about there can't be negative feminism. Again, we are being very reductionist, as in if you're male, you can be good or bad.
Give us a scenario.
If you're female, you can be, yes, it's my turn to talk, Trevor. Yes. So, for instance, where we have communities that perpetuate female gender mutilation, who are at the front line? It's the women. Is that positive feminism? Is that positive feminism? That I, as a woman, I am taking away a woman's pleasure, her ability to bear birth normally.
You need to get it to the wife.
You had a good answer to
Why is
that.
that woman's pleasure taken away? Why was that system?
You had a good answer to that question.
No, because we're talking about Trevor. The thing is, this person perpetuating. In the case when it becomes about
behalf that these women are
she
perpetuating.
has a choice.
Yes.
They're doing it for men. The thing is, it's not about her choice. She's compelled to go through this pain to please a man. Because if she does not, her position in the patriarchal society is put at risk.
Yes, but then she also mentioned,
But
do you know who is at the forefront?
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
No, why does it matter?
Please. Why
Do not
does it
dismiss
matter
it.
when we're talking about
It right now in
the
this
other
day and
side?
age.
What the violence these women are doing is
They're doing it
patriarchal
on
violence.
behalf of the men.
It's not negative feminism.
Because they're trying to
No, but they
protect
can't-
their position.
But I think they're coerced. Patriarchy is a coercing force. It's not something up to
But you see, it is...
Because remember, this is why we're talking about positive and negative elements. This happens in
it's a simple
societies.
binary.
You see, now you're okay with binary right now when it suits your argument,
No,
but when it
I was-
suits this other
I was
side,
never- I was
it
never okay with
doesn't.
it. The thing is, I was never okay with the binary to begin. That's what I'm saying. That if you look at negative femininity as an opposite of toxic masculinity, you lose nuance there. The women who would harm other women, like you get the example you gave.
They're not doing
They're
it
harming
their
other
own
women.
position on behalf.
Yeah, but they're doing it through the coercive force of their patriarchal
So
society.
that's one example, okay? And it happens because the women choose.
They're coerced.
No. It's a choice at the end
You're
of the day.
saying a woman will kill
a woman because they know that a man kills a woman?
Okay, please, I am not a local. Let's keep it to English.
In Uganda,
Yes.
we have had Museveni rulers for 40 years, right? And guys, this is a democratic process.
Wait, out. No. We are not going political, Trevor. We are staying on topic.
Why not?
No, Ruth.
Okay, let me show.
This is not for your.
Let me show you how patriarchy
No,
is
we
working.
have
Okay,
no
I'll come
political
back.
examples.
But that's the thing. The political and the personal are caught up in the patriarchy. A patriarchal society is not coercive. You don't opt in. If a Sabini girl growing up, I'm also a issue, so they also circumcised. It's not something you opt in out of your love for it. You are coerced into it. And even like you say, yes, they harm women, right? But this
But they
harm
don't have a choice in that
is
matter.
not rooted in an autonomy that is worldview that makes it evil. The same way that men the right society do. So for this one, yes, it's true they harm women and their impact is harmful, it's negative. But tying that to their femininity is wrong because the actions are compelled by a masculine movement, a masculine energy.
Negative masculine.
Yes.
That's why I gave earlier,
Yes.
and Ruth, you were part of this positive masculinity that says that this, I need to give the girl more opportunities. I need to educate the girl. And that's why there is positive and negative. And for us to assume
But
that
that shows
everything
power.
about patriarchy is no, it's wrong.
Everything about patriarchy is bad.
Yes,
No,
everything about patriarchy
I
is
was
bad.
educated by a man.
Why do you believe that?
Because, man, you guys, I come from one of the
I was
most patriarchal
educated.
societies.
Did he become feminine to
Why
educate
were
me?
you educated by the man? He had the resources, and why is it that it's only the man that had the resources?
My father had more money than my mother. That's why he
Why
paid the
is that?
fees. Because please, my mother. Let me ask you. Let me tell you something. My context.
You didn't say it.
No. Let me give you more context about my background. No. Listen. Let me give you more context. My mother is from a more privileged background than my father. Yes. So my father worked very hard to run away from his poverty, and he made the decision that his children, whether they're male or female, will have a better outlook on life. Positive masculinity. My mother, I gave this example earlier. My father provides,
It's just the
but
right
he's
thing
the
to do,
kind
guys.
of man who does dishes. This is positive masculinity.
But you guys, what
And
I'm
he's-
saying is a relationship for power. No one should appreciate you for being a good person. Like what I'm saying is, if you educate someone, right? Here's what you're supposed to do in society. Patriarchy. So what it does, we never address the question of power. Like all these things should all do, right?
good leadership.
And like someone was saying recently, we should not thank white people for not being racist. Like, no one should thank you for being a decent human being. Woman, man, or animal.
No, this is
if you
no.
have the resources to,
This
that's what
is
you're
in the
supposed to do.
context of
But by saying
you see
positive
how
masculinity,
things are.
it makes sense. We should reward you for being a decent human being.
No one is rewarding my father.
But
He made
you're saying
a
he's a man
change.
who did something different. But
Yes,
no, like, so what
he
human
did not
beings
go
do.
with the negative aspects of patriarchy, which the two of you are focusing on
No, no,
and saying
what-
patriarchy is negative.
What I'm saying,
There's no
by your
positive
father doing that, he left
But
the
the
patriarchy.
patriarchal system doesn't
No.
have a positive.
But the thing, why do you?
He's an example of positive
why are you
patriarchy,
fighting
positive
for it?
leadership.
Why are you fighting for it?
Would you say the world is
For educating the girl child.
Why are you fighting for patriarchy to remain? Because I agree with everything your father did. It's
No,
right.
no.
But why do you tie it back to patriarchy?
No, you know what? He's still a man.
But
And he can be a good man without that patriarchal
the thing is,
system.
He's masculine.
The question
He's
is,
positive
can't he
masculinity.
exist as a man outside patriarchy?
What we're talking about is feminism and masculinity. And the positive and negative attributes. I have given my father as a positive example
Masculinity can
of the
exist.
masculine.
It can exist out of the masculine can exist outside the patriarchy. I just want you to take it out of that.
The world we are in is by virtue a patriarchy.
Not the entire world.
No. The context I am in. I can't go talk about which little tribe is that. It's a Polynesian tribe. That
They exist.
yeah.
And it should inspire us.
No, by
And again, it's
Yes.
again because of their context. They
Yes.
don't have much land, therefore the resources need to be tied to the womb of the woman producing the children. Yeah. So my aim and what I've been trying to share is that we have good and bad, and you can either be male or female. So where we have women what I call negative femininity is a woman who unfortunately is so traumatized she cannot see good in the man, in the masculine, which is very unfortunate as for our society.
It's true.
Yeah. So
And she gave the
that's
example earlier.
It's
Yes.
true. That's,
From where
these
you-
are facts.
that's where I'm coming from, because once we get so traumatized and choose that everything from the other side is
It's
bad,
bad,
that's why I'm saying femicide is horrible, and that's why we have laws against it. Yeah.
But the challenge is that I'll give you an example. In Uganda, we had over 26 women killed in this country in a town called Entebbe. It didn't happen at once. It happened in sequences.
Yes.
So the problem with femicide is it's quite special. There are very few equivalents of femicide on the other side. And what
But you see, who's collecting the data on that?
but the thing is, it's the machine actively leads to the endangerment. The system leads to actively the endangerment of women. It's just a few who survive as outliers, but for the majority, it is a constant direction in which women are disadvantaged. And it seems scary to change into something new because no one knows how that would look like. But with the way things are going, it's very hard under patriarchy for a large percentage of women, the larger percentage of them, to gain their freedom and personhood.
The negative aspects of patriarchy, negative leadership. It's, for instance, when we have a woman in leadership and she is corrupt, is that a good leader?
No.
Good leadership
But Trevor, you're
is
saying she's
separate
only
from
corrupt
gender.
because she has seen a man be corrupt. That's
No.
what you're saying.
No.
That's what
No.
you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
no.
actually,
Let
yeah.
me clarify my argument. I'm saying, you guys, it's not me who said the whole world is now patriarchal. Did I say it? No, I didn't
No,
say
it is.
My argument is this.
Yeah.
Women have autonomy to be good or bad people. But the society they live in is coercive. From the moment they are birth, extremely so to women, even as to men. But for women, it's another, there are multiple layers added onto it.
Because we have a uterus.
I mean, yes, but the thing is, you might say, okay, we should be controlled. But the thing is, that is, it should not be a given for everyone. And there are very many women around the world who will say, we don't feel like we should. But the way that debate is held is that power that is exerted upon them reveals this violence every time they try to push back against those boundaries. And
Yes,
that's why I can't say negative patriarchy. Patriarchy, the concept itself is negative.
There's no positive.
It's like saying negative capitalism.
No, like that's why earlier on I also gave the example of the Vikings. No, that's why I gave the example of the Vikings. In their reality, women were empowered because they needed their women to be strong because they were surviving in very harsh environments. Women only became dainty when there was industrialization. Otherwise, they were a serious force of labor.
That was
So-
not compensated.
Because we had not yet reduced a woman's contribution to financial. That's what modern society did. Unfortunately, it made that
No.
it reduced.
But I also need tracks there because
Yes,
there's something that contradicts that. Women's lack of emancipation should be tied to productive concerns. They are cultural, and that's why they are deep-seated. Like I say, like the thing to sort of like dissect is like all the things you're talking about are true, but what this the nexus where they become serious is cultural. So even productive. Like if we see things we can even change in abstract language, in ways of thinking about are so stiff, like religion. In the Old Testament, the man dies after saying, "Oh, don't spend a chair where a menstruating woman has sat on." His son comes back. He spends his entire ministry and goes back to heaven, and still his religion is a man who says women should not preach in the front of the church. And even if they have been included, their position in these systems has taken millennia, and they basically just climb in the first rung. So it's not productive. It's a cultural violence which mutates into like the physical manifestation of like
Let me
femicide,
take that
which will
back
be
to the
uninvestigated and stuff.
origin of that religion we call Christianity. It's only based in the context upon which it was built up.
Which is like Zoroastrianism and syncretic religions from around that whole Middle Eastern area.
Yes.
Going back all the way to Syria.
Yes. So it's based on their context. So everything I'm sharing is that, remember, we need to take everything in the context we are in.
But I'm saying, but our context is not
Yes.
their context. The decisions people make today regarding women's position in society is based on this set of rules that you say is foreign.
Yes.
But this is our modern.
Until
This is our
we draw
context.
the line.
Yes.
Until the men we have around us decide this is where I draw the line. Even as a woman, if I have a son and a daughter, I need to make that choice to educate them to equally.
Yes.
To the best of their abilities. When I choose to educate the boy, or when I choose to educate the girl, what am I doing to the society?
You're a bad person, and it's not negative femininity. You're just a horrible person and a bad parent.
Who happens to be female?
Yes, happens to be female. Yes. And it's that simple.
What Trevor was saying in the
It's that simple.
is women, even as they are bad people, they don't have the power to affect entire systems.
The women
But
do.
if men are bad people, it's like worse because they have the power to
I mean, look
influence the entire
at its
system.
look at its own society, at your own system. When you chase all the threads, when you have figured it all out and have chased all the marks, where do they lead to? It's a patriarch. My bazukuru, grandchildren. It's a language. The language is a language of the patriarch. It's bad. It infantilizes. It's sort of like it holds on to power while hiding from it, and then victim blames you, and then says, "No, man, you're also contributing negatively." Don't you see? I'm like, bro, you're the evil that covers my entire world. Whatever I do to irritate you is not evil. It's okay.
It's me fighting back.
Do you like what South Korea is doing? Why the women are not going back to children?
Good for them.
I mean, it's good for them.
That's their own way of fighting
Why should
a
they?
system that
they
has been
believe.
unkind to them.
Do you believe
That's how they're
humanity,
fighting
right?
it. That's their retaliation.
But I was baited using this podcast, guys.
you believe-
I'm not a good force on this.
It's really conversation.
Stay.
Yes.
Ruth needs to feel she has someone in her corner.
In humanity?
Yes.
Yes, I believe in humanity.
But then what would you think if people choose?
Okay, maybe before he goes, okay.
No, finish.
Before he, because I see maybe you're saying,
No, I'll respond.
But what I'm saying is, at what extent do you think this whole system of patriarchy that you have been talking about is going to change?
That's a very good question. This system, and like what happened with His Excellency, this lady wrote this article, and she was telling him,
The book cartel is back.
no, it's not book cartel. This is called Awino on Twitter, really popping up.
Don't buy into online
Yes. And
was defending ignorance.
And she was saying, don't call us your grandchildren, right? And this pushback happened, but it's a culture. And people just have to push back against human. We all have responsibilities as sentient beings. Like, and with women, of course, there'll be more considerations because their bodies work in certain sort of ways, right? To think about how to stay safe and sort of like live fulfilling lives within this exchange. We also have to admit the current way we are doing it is not, it doesn't give as much respect and consideration to women as it should. And that's the thing, when people believe that patriarchy wants in a snap change, and it won't be like some sort of like extreme revolution that shifts the paradigm, but people will start being more considerate in these exchanges. Because we all want to be unique. We can't say now, let's just remove everything, we are now in a new system. Because you can be unique as a man and express yourself in ways that make you, reaffirm you as a man, for as long as they do not prescribe ways of being that are unrooted in any sort of practicality to that person. But like, yeah, and for me, that's the only way I think about it. And then if that criticism cut through culture, cut through politics, cut through whatever, we stop fighting with these simplistic ways of seeing things in binaries, because it's complicated and people are so different. Because when you say women, that it's such a huge category that it's baffling. When you say men, you know, like.
But has there been any strides according to what you have said?
Let me just answer that. We're in a patriarchy.
Yes.
Therefore, for us to have positive change, for us to have the biggest impact for women, to women, it's the men who have to take the lead. We have to see more of the positive masculine coming to the fore and addressing the ongoing challenges. We have femicide, we have marking down a woman's contribution to financial, yet she's the one who actually has the task of bringing forth the next generation. We have to have leadership, male leadership, positive masculinity that brings this to the fore and supports this. Because for us to make strides towards educating the girl child, for us to ending female genital mutilation, it's a man who needs to take the front of this for us to have a genuine and lasting solution.
What I'm telling you is, that seems cool and would be the preferred thing to happen, but they have no incentive to. And it's the challenge of people who are, again, it's a situation of oppressor. Not even to circle back around the same thing. Is that it's true, there needs to be allyship. It's obvious that it can't be women saying, excluding everyone and saying we're doing this independently. There has to be quality allyship. But I think women have to initiate this fight and choose carefully the people they ally with to achieve these goals. It's also that's also like part of consideration.
Yes,
choose carefully who you met with. It's important.
The follow-up is there a change that is happening?
Yes, I mean this change. Like our generation, I see my father's peers and how they handle situations that come with gender roles, and see my peers and I. And it's not perfect, but there's movement. And I mean, we're now losing it in the age of social media with guys getting red-pilled, Andrew Tate et al. And we're regressing. But I think what she's saying is true. But on the reverse, women have to initiate this fight and keep it up.
So are you saying that they play the biggest role in this?
Like men, there's no incentive for these men to change.
Right? So what you're saying is
there's no incentive for you, Keron, as a misogynist man to change. It's true. It benefits to be misogynist.
what happens after we dismantle patriarchy?
It's a utopia where we all live in kumbaya, holding hands, having orgies of autonomous individuals, reproducing societies, and the world is that.
You guys, this conversation went so good.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's why, because you see, at the end of the day, we are all going to be, how do they call it, strong from how we submit. And that's why I wanted to ask him in a way of like, okay, yes, before he moves, what do we think about this whole thing? Because at some point there has to be, you either have hope that this is going to stop, or there's some, shift and things are moving towards, a positive direction, or we are still as if stuck, and maybe it's just an illusion that things are, maybe there's a difference.
Honestly, it feels like a whole Uganda, His Excellency.
No, but you see, you cannot, it's not Uganda alone.
No.
Hey, look at the battle and the fight of the patriarchy, like exactly how Ugandans are fighting.
But sometimes I think it comes from a total position of self-interest. Again, I'll use my father as an example. Because he saw that and he felt it wasn't the way to go forward. When he had his
and the
daughters,
very many people like your father.
When he had his daughters, he was like, no, that's not the option they're going to have. And that's when we have more of that, I believe we are making positive strides. When you have children, and it's up to you to decide which way this is going to go. Are we going to give girls a positive experience so that they see the world in a positive light? Realistic yet positive. Are our sons, your sons, going to see that I would like to protect my mother, my sister, my daughter? Is that the world I want? Because when we end up becoming too bitter and saying you're bad, and also on the other side having men who feel a woman being able to pay her bill is a bad thing, it makes them less, that's very unfortunate. Yeah. So it's us at the end of the day. Again, to quote the book you were reading, we reduce the gap in knowledge by learning more, knowing more, and being brave enough to implement it. Because it takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, so when you're aware, I sort of thought that we will never end. So I was asking, do you think there is a way we have made? What was it? To what end do you think? Do you think we have made some strides? Do you think this is going to change, this whole patriarchy thing, or we are stuck in it for some time?
I'll probably never live long enough to see it. but
Year of little
doesn't
faith.
mean we stop working and trying. But also, is this us concluding?
Yeah.
No, but you had some. If you had some, just
I need to put this out there. I need to reiterate it all the time that I do not agree. And for the record, I want the record to show that I've said there's nothing like negative femininity. And what you're saying is a result of pushback. So if you keep on oppressing someone, if you've been hitting and punching, and then somebody finally is trying to push you off of themselves, do not stand now and say, "Oh, you're hurting
like that,
me.
you're like this."
You're doing
also,
this."
Also, sometimes
And
I
this-
feel
this
that's an
is-
oversimplification
No,
of
it's
the whole
not.
problem.
So if you're saying,
So other examples, and I think this is what Trevor, I actually called him
Ruth, I
in.
agree with you on that point. Just for the record.
And Trevor
what
said,
happens when you dismantle the patriarchy from your perspective? What happens next? What do you
okay,
think will happen?
provided, just imagine you are alive and it has been
Do you feel
broken
like
down.
It will be the same thing.
Like
now
for
it
women
will
to be
us pushing back.
And I think we need to acknowledge the complication with trying to imagine this kind. The very reason why we are having problems is because it's very, very hard to imagine a world where things are not as they are right now. Do you understand? Where the men are not like this and women not. It's very hard to imagine, and that's why people are fighting, because human beings, they like to be comfortable. They like to stick to what
There's
they know.
problem with change, really.
Yes, and so it is hard. It's hard for you to imagine, and you're very conditioned that you cannot imagine a world. Your only conception is if this party is here and another one is here. That's why you think when women win this fight,
They will be here and will be here.
Yes.
But you see, even amongst yourselves, there are some who are here and there are some who are here. You cannot. You also cannot be what?
The idea is to find ways. Yeah, you have to be allies with the oppressor.
That was Trevor's.
No, but it's even in the book.
No, it's true.
Right?
You have to.
you have to negotiate.
That is not what. Yes, you have to negotiate.
Yeah, but you also.
So
That is
here's
not
the
what
problem,
feminism is
and
doing.
Natif, this is a very passionate point of his, and I'll just negotiation. Dialogue. Here's the thing. That's one way to look at it. That's one way to look at it. But the challenge
If you
with
guys
that,
created this
that
corridor for
the
discussion.
challenge with that is if you have all the cards. If you have all the cards, why should you
No, but
give
we don't
people
have
this?
all of them.
No, here's the thing. If for example, like you,
You're going to go back to that
I
thing
don't know
that we
what's-
have no incentive.
there's no incentive. What are you gonna do if I don't give it to you? That's the thing about trying to dialogue with an oppressor. Like, why should they? Even if they don't, like, what will you do about
You
it?
see what I told you? That for me, I'm there.
That's why you
I'm
have
not
to fight
incentivized to come.
That's why you have to fight, but because they'll never give it to you out of their good of their own heart, because they don't have to. That's
Yes,
the
that
thing.
is why when we're saying that, as much as the women and men are forming allies to see that everyone is treated equally and to bring about some sort
And
of
this
of dispatch to
this
patriarchy.
particular movement is unique. You can't even relate it to the political one, because by the virtue of the men having to give that, to be the one to give you your freedom, is also like in
You have
itself
freedom. What do you mean give you
patriarchal.
your freedom?
Not as an individual.
So, some of these things I don't. I think you have.
And why should you? It's not your reality. You're not a woman. Why should? You can't see it.
I think you.
No, but
it is like saying you cannot give marital advice because you are not married.
That's not the same thing.
Okay, it is like you're saying I have to. You have
Because
to be.
I can't get married.
and-
Do you get?
yes, you
I
can get
can
married,
get married,
but the
but
idea is
you cannot be a woman.
I can be a woman. I've actually just said here that sex is a what?
Gender is
a social construct. Tomorrow I can wake up feeling like a girl.
And you still have a different experience.
Yes, but then the whole thing would have changed. You'll have to assimilate me into your what? Into your whole community. Anyway.
How do we conclude this conversation? I want you to conclude. What do you think? What's the takeaway?
She's going to tell you there's no negative.
That one I want to stand 10 toes down.
Did you see? Actually, I want to read it.
Create a safe corridor. Honestly.
With who?
With
That's what again
with the potential
with any
goodwill
movement
and good intention
with
allies.
any movement there's different methods, right? The people subscribe to different methods. That's why there's people you've termed as radical feminists, the ones that are not palatable, the ones you're finding hard to stomach because they make you uncomfortable. They've been given that title, and there are some.
Wow. If I was here from the beginning, my spirit just keep breaking it. I think we are moving, then you bring us back.
But the first part of the conversation was exactly that. We move, and then something takes us back.
We were moving around in circles. Now you've lost me.
Do you feel like we are oppressing the women?
Look at me and say.
Do you genuinely feel that patriarchy
As a girl dad.
As a girl dad, I plead the fifth. I'm very biased. Honestly, I'm very biased.
But I feel like I've already said what I said. That
Yeah, sure. You conclude on the other thing. You see what you talked about, that you have a girl and a boy, and you would want to raise them at an equal footing. It's the first time I've had a mother say that. They're always favoring. It has nothing to do with which schools and what. Actually, you find some people who take their girls to the best schools, but then they take the boy to a rather
Rough school.
rugged and rough schools
because everyone introducing themselves because we didn't do that once.
No, did you guys introduce yourselves?
No, we still didn't.
So for us now, how
But
we
now,
can-
you just introduce.
and it's a good thing we didn't do it at the start, because now you can just.
Just say
Yes, so
the audio version.
you see that they would prefer to take their boys to a more rugged school to sort of like.
And I don't want to sort of complicate this further, but this is what Trevor was this is the point that he was making, that even when you remove women, toxic masculinity affects men in a negative way. So what feeds into parents sort of not...
I still agree with her that good or bad should not be tied down.
First finish, I really want to hear what is...
It's sort of like the excuse people give with not raising their boys in a proper way. In a kind of a very... Because he's a boy, he'll figure it out and things like that.
That is different from what I am saying.
Yeah, he was pointing at it from a different...
Yes, from like educating and being a... But as parents, as a father, as a mother, I believe you have to have values you instill in your child. Of
course.
Now that's why it gets to that point you're trying to say. You need to be able to tell your son or even your daughter that these are the values that I believe, and you alone have to. You alone know the kind of values you want your children to do what, to grow up with, either because of what you saw your parents doing or how you were brought up, the society within which that you are living, and also as an individual, the experiences that you have had. It forms some sort of idea of this is how I want to raise my children. Now the other point was separate from it, because I was saying that at the end of the day you'll see that I was trying to say that, or compliment her, that she's the first mother I have had say that she would want to raise her kids, both boys and girls, at the same footing. Yes, and it does not say that those who want to take their children or their boys to a more rugged school or something like that, that it will be of a lesser school or lesser quality, but you'd see that it's
harden them for the
yes, try to do what? Try to some situations have to tap it out.
Yeah, because men have...
subscribed to feminism, we wouldn't have even that issue.
No, but you see, also the challenges that we face as men in society, and that's
Very
a whole
unique.
different. Yes, that's a whole different conversation.
To realize feminism is
on
on
a
the
different
same side.
day-
It's not trying to harm you. It will also benefit you because the pressure to be a man comes from trying to be superior. If you take away that,
No, some men actually do not feel superior, just so you know.
That's what I'm saying.
But
the way that's
but
being
the
a
way
man is
it was
it's rooted
meant
in superiority, right? Being a man, being stronger, being what?
when I would imagine, like when you get married, what would you be looking out for in whoever you're getting married to?
Like what I'm attracted to.
Okay, let's put it
A
that
provider,
way.
protector.
Oh, why are you influencing the answer?
Sorry.
I wanted to get it as raw as it
No,
came.
actually, it should just be someone I like. There are no other variables.
No, but that
Until she has a baby, then she wants to be provided for,
she wants to be
protected for.
even the provision and all those that provision has to be sustainable.
Let me tell you, all those things are usually nice and dandy until you have something to. Once you, as it, the reality is, once
When I tell you your
a
protection,
woman has a baby, she changes her focus to survival of the baby. Therefore, she needs someone else to be supporting her from the back.
Community.
So, no, ma'am. Your mother doesn't give the same support a significant
Why?
other
Because
does.
you're
and also
the man.
the thing it was then of it takes a village, it is not so much now. Going down this neighborhood, you have seen how many. Imagine you used to stay here. How many babies? Oh, you have been here for maybe a few days or something. How many children have you seen loitering around here?
Yeah, they're not, let me give another example about my concerns with what I'm saying are both the negative aspects of whether you're feminine or masculine. As a mother, it's important for my offspring to know that what is good, what is a good person, what is a good woman. For my son to know a good woman, a happy woman. Don't go looking for a toxic person because they're there.
Yeah.
For my daughter, what is a good man? What is a kind man? Yeah, positive leadership.
But you see, even the words that you're using are already. You see, for you made sure you mentioned kindness when it came to the man. And it's not the first time. It's those small, undertones and small, utterances that cause that difference. That even you are contributors at the end of the day to the system. So that means the pressures that you are saying about, that we insert on ourselves. Even you give us the same pressures at the end of the day. So you see.
Why?
I've just explained to you. Did you hear what she said?
I heard it.
My daughter, who is a good man, is this, and then she also says a kind person. But you see, kindness has to be also the other way around. I keep telling people about when I get the chance, if I am feeling like, hey, I need to talk about relationships, about grace and kindness. Extend kindness, give grace. The rest will be okay. You will figure it out because you will disagree on this, you will disagree on that, you will have strong-willed opinions on the other one and things like that. So even the pressure that you say that we put on ourselves to be able to provide, Ruth.
I'm listening.
Okay. Even the pressures you say that we put on ourselves, that we are the providers and all, it is also coming from your end. That's why I asked you, what would you look out for when you're getting married to a certain, gentleman out there? And then you say it is just someone that you love. I'm telling you, that is not it. Hi everyone, my name is Huntington, and I was really glad to be part of this podcast, to meet Ruth, to meet Hilda. Trevor, not with us. Okay. Yeah, but I'm really glad that I was part of the conversations. Thanks for hosting.
My name is Ruth Kemirembe. I'm glad to be a part of this conversation. My closing remark is that there's no negative femininity. That's a joke.
But it is also true from your end.
Hi all, Hilda joining you from across the border. This is a fun topic about femininity, masculinity, and patriarchy and our roles in it. Interesting conversation.
Thank you everyone for doing this. Ruth, thank you for doing this. Really, thank you for doing this. I could feel from your energy from the start. It was not an easy decision to do. You had already had your mind made up on what this podcast is about, which is not really true. It's having these conversations. I believe this is one way we actually create the safe corridor for existing, right? This is how I understand you. This is how I understand you feel oppressed. This is how I understand how to change and how to pass that down to my generation. But otherwise, Hilda, thank you. It's been good interacting. At least you are there. You have benefited from the patriarchy. At least there was positive for you. It's something. No, Huntington, I'm coming to you. And you, Huntington. Huntington here is a host on this podcast. It's very good to have him back. He was on the podcast and he ran away. But now that he has seen that it's back to interesting, I think I am drawing him back. So to the listeners, be ready to have my man back. But otherwise, everyone, thank you for this conversation. I believe it will create some value. It will teach someone something and someone will pick something of use out of it. It's been a pleasure to have all of you. Thank you.